Okay guys, I'm going to try to break this down as simple as I can for everybody. If you have computer issues, it doesn't come natural for you, this is how you're going to find your fabric mask pattern. You're just going to type in Google surgical mask pattern free. And when you go here, you're looking for this one that says Craft Passion. So you're going to click on this one, Craft Passion, and the pattern's going to come up. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, so I wanted to walk you through this part. Go on and scroll down. You're going to keep scrolling until you'll see some highlighted links that you can click on, and that's what we're looking for right in here. Here's your list of materials. Now this is what I did. You don't have to do this, but this is going to make it a lot easier. It's going to let you print out the actual pattern size that you need. You're not going to have to convert anything. So I clicked on it, and if you can see, it downloaded right here to my computer. It's right up here. Pocket Face is what it kind of saved itself as. When you open that, your actual pattern, this is for the man size. There'll be multiple sizes. You choose the size that you need. You're actually going to print this out. And what I did is I cut this out and I traced it onto a file folder so that I would have a hard copy of the pattern. So this is the pattern for the main fabric, and this is the pattern for the lining, and you'll need to cut two of those. Cut two of each of those. And I'll show you the next step in the next clip. Okay, so we have our printed out pattern that we printed to size if you clicked on the link that I showed you to click on. And I'm just going to use one size because that makes it easier. You can print out whatever size you need, but I printed out the man size. I feel like you really only need the man size if it's for adults. You can use it for men or women. If you're really doing it for kids, you're going to want to use that kid size. But I took this and I cut it out on the lines. This is just regular computer printer paper. And then I took these business folders, file folders. They're the perfect, I guess, thickness. And I can cut through those with my regular scissors. And I traced the patterns onto here and cut them out. And now I have a hard copy. It's super important that you transfer whatever it says here onto the exact same piece, because even though they look very similar, they are different and they have a purpose.
Go.
Okay, so if you're doing this to donate to a hospital or a medical clinic, or you just have a lot of family members and you need to make a lot of masks, there's a way to make it a lot faster. So this is a 1/2 yard cut of fabric. You do need to wash all the fabric first. You're going to wash it and dry it and press it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you kind of want to press any folds or creases out of it. What I did with my 1/2 yard cut, this is exactly how it came from the fabric store. I laid it out and then I folded it, and you're going to use your pieces that we cut out, and make sure you're using the one that says main fabric, because this is your main fabric. You're going to want that to be a color or a print or whatever if you care about that. If you don't care, you know, your lining and your print can all be the same. So if you lay it down just right after you've folded it, it's automatically folded in a double, and then we tri-folded it so that we can fit as many masks as possible on here. So we're going to do it this way, and then if you come in here and you set this way, right between those two, we've got enough for 6 masks. And then if you flip this around, you're now fitting 9 masks out of a 1/2 yard of fabric, not counting your lining. And then you're going to repeat that for your lining. You can use muslin, you can use any kind of cotton fabric. It doesn't have to be pretty, it's not going to show, but you'll need a 1/2 yard of that to do 9 masks as well. And you're going to repeat that process, but you're going to use the piece that says lining, and you're going to layer it just the same, and you need the same number of pieces of lining fabric as you do as for the mask fabric.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you have your fabrics cut, and again, you have 2 pieces and it has you folding them right sides together. If you use a fabric that doesn't have a front and back side, you literally have nothing to worry about. You cannot get this wrong. And I've done that with both the lining fabric and the main fabric. And again, it's important that you use each proper piece for the lining and the main, because they are slightly different sizes for a reason. So once you've done that, you're going to come to your machine and you're going to stitch the front part of the mask together. It's really, really quick and easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. We aren't making a wedding gown. We are making a mask. So while I'm here, I go ahead and I do both pieces, and the directions will actually have you do one piece at a time. But if you're mass producing or you're really comfortable with your machine, go ahead and do both pieces at one time. Once you do this, let's see, where are my little scissors? Stand by. I don't see my little ones. So once you have those curves stitched in, you're going to go in and you're going to clip, and you have to be really careful not to clip the seam or you'll just cut a hole in what you just did. And the reason you're snipping is this is a curve, and we need that curve to lay properly so it's not all bunched up and gathered in your face, because this is actually going to go in front of the nose and the face when we're done here. Okay, so I have stitched just that one seam along the front edge of the mask fabric and lining, and I have clipped all of these so that my curve, you can see it's all clipped kind of like a mohawk. All right, so we're going to press both pieces. We're going to flip it open like this, kind of punch it out, and this is why we're clipping it. When you clip those curves, it lets it lay nice and flat. So we're going to do that with both pieces. I'm going to repeat that same exact process with the lining. Okay, so we have those both pieces stitched together. They're clipped on the edges. They've been pressed. They've been right-sided out and pressed. So you can see that they look pretty much the same. They're just slightly different in size. Now what we're going to do, we're back at the machine. You're going to open it up and you're going to right-side it out so that you're actually stitching on the pretty side of the fabric. And we're going to top stitch really close to the seam line over the fold. And what that's going to do is it's going to make that seam that we clipped lay nice and flat. And I'm just kind of lining it up against a line. You don't really have to be precise about, you know, what measurement you use. As long as you're catching your seam allowance, it's going to lay nice and flat. Again, you know, the purpose is to protect people, not to make a fashion statement. So we've done that step and we've stitched the mask down so it's going to stay. So then you're going to repeat that process with the lining fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that we have this top stitch along the front side of the mask, we're going to take the lining. So this is where my video is going to separate and come to a different point than the pattern that you're going to download, because I wanted a pocket for a filter, so I built one. So I'm taking my lining and and again, you don't have to be real precise. We're just kind of putting a finished hem on the sides, because this is where we're going to hold our filter that we can take out and throw away and put in a new one. So I'm just going to press it down and fold it again and press it down. Okay, cut. So now I'm back at the machine with the lining that I just pressed so that we can finish it, and this is going to help us have a spot to put that filter. And we're just going to tack this down with a simple straight stitch. I'm running it along the edge. Again, there's no perfect way to do it, and this is not going to be in your directions because I added this part just for a little extra safety measure and to give us the ability to change out that filter when we feel like we need to. Okay, so now we have the lining right here, which looks slightly different than our main fabric, and it's supposed to, because now we're going to take our main fabric and our lining and we're going to put them right sides together. So when I say right sides together, that means put the pretty sides together if there is a pretty side. If you've gone that route, you're putting the pretty sides together, you're putting the finished sides together. So I've got raw edge here, and I'm meeting at the point of both pieces. And I'm just going to pin it just a little bit to hold it in place. And we'll do the same thing over here real quick. Okay. And you don't have to pin if you're experienced and you've been doing this for a long time. I would suggest that you still pin your point because that point's really, really important. So then we're going to bring it back up here to the machine, and I'm going to pull that first pin out because I've got my needle down. And here we're just going to sew right along the edge, and we're joining the lining with the mask. That's going to give us that handy pocket for filtration. Okay, now we're going to take the bottom edge and we're going to do the same. We're going to pin the seams, and you can come along and you can pin that side down if you need to. It's really not necessary. It'll save you a little bit of time if you can get comfortable leaving that part out because it's just a straight edge. So you're going to stick that under the machine, and you're really going to see this is really an easy little project you can do. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're actually going to turn it right sides out. So I'm just flipping it right side out. And then we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to press it. But you can start to see it kind of come together. And that's the inside of our lining. And that's the outside. We're going to take it over here and press it. So I'm just kind of pressing the seams out. You push them out with your fingers because you want to make sure that you don't leave a pucker in there. And I use a little steam right here just to reinforce that seam. And this part is a little tricky because you've got that point in there, and you want that because it's going to cover your nose. You want to keep that protected. So hit it with that steam again. You can start to see the mask form. And you might fumble through the first one, but you'll figure it out as you go. It's not too hard at all. Okay. So, see, our little mask is taking shape. We're going to go over to the machine again, and we're going to top stitch just along here. That looks like a fold, but it's not. And we're going to top stitch just so that it holds its shape. So we sit down here. I'm actually going to pull my needle over. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to pull the needle over a little bit. And then we're literally just running a seam across the edge here. And this is just to help the mask hold its shape, because there's really not a lot of structure to it, and it's just kind of sitting on your face. So there's that. Now we're going to flip it around, and we're going to do that again. Put it right on that edge. So you can see right now, there's the mask. It's going to fit over your face, and you're going to be able to slip your filter in there. And when I sit back down, I'll show you how to put some elastic bands to keep it attached to your ears. Okay, so this part gets a little bit tricky, but you can do it. There's no finesse to it. It's just strictly kind of get in there and do it. And I altered this because it's hard to get that rubber band in. So what I want to show you first is this is what we're using. These are elastic hair bands, ponytail holders. You can get them at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, wherever, probably even your local grocery store. So I'm going to fold the ends down, and like I said, this is where there's not a lot of finesse. It's kind of rough, but you just got to get in there and do it. And so if you can see what I've done, I folded it to make a casing for that rubber band. If you can get in there and sew without pins, that's great. If you need to pin it, go ahead and pin it. And you're gonna have to hold that band back, kind of try to keep it out of the way. And I reinforce this a lot. So again, this is not gonna be the prettiest part of this mask, but it really is functional, because if you can't hold it to your ear or your face, what is the purpose? So I'm just kind of reinforcing, because that rubber band is going to put a lot of strain on those threads. So now you have your rubber band attached. So then we're going to turn over to this side, and we're going to fold the edges again, and we're going to stick our rubber band through there. Here, let's just stick it through and then fold it. How about that? You can see what I mean by no finesse. And then you're going to fold it over. Reinforce it. It doesn't want to go. So just lift your needle up, pull it back, and start again. You just really want to reinforce that stitch, because it's going to have a lot of pressure on it. So you can see we have a mask with 2 rubber bands. It actually goes like this. There's your nose piece, and it's got a pocket here, and I'll show you what to do with that pocket. Okay, so this is another spot where you have to improvise, because this pattern does not come with a filter pattern. So I had to make one. This is a 3M Filtrete filter that I got either at Home Depot or Lowe's, I can't remember, and I took it apart, and I took the filter medium outside of it, and I actually made my own pattern. I just kind of traced this roughly and made it slightly smaller. So that's where I came up with this. And again, I used the folder paper, and you're just gonna lay it on here, and you're gonna trace it out, and you're gonna cut it, and then you're gonna slip it inside your pocket, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Okay, so I'm just tracing this. Again, this is not one of those precision issues. We're just gonna trace it roughly, and then I'm gonna cut it out really quickly. This won't take me but a second. We can keep that video rolling if you want. We're just gonna cut it. And if you want to, if you think you're gonna go through a lot of them or you're donating them, you can also stack this up and cut multiple filters at one time. So the great thing about this is, although the mask itself is washable, the filtration, you can actually just throw it away and put a new one in. So I'm recommending that you do both. Like put a new filter in after you wash the mask, if you're going to be around a lot of people or really anybody that you have a concern. And I can't promise you that this filtration is going to keep you 100% well. I'm just doing what I can for my family, and this is what I came up with. So that's how you do that. This filter from 3M, it says on the package that it helps prevent allergies, bacteria, and viruses. So that's why I chose this one. I think it was $20 for one filter. It was, I think, 20 by 20 was the size that I purchased. But there, it's all ready to wear. You can remove that filter. It's not the prettiest mask in the world, but it'll give you a peace of mind a little bit. So anyway, thanks for joining us.